For the second GOP presidential debate for tonight, with a smaller than the first stage. It's ready, though, and just like the first debate, former President Donald Trump will not be in attendance. He's instead holding campaign events in Michigan. Here to break down tonight's debate, former head of the Illinois Republican Party and friend of the stream, Pat Brady. Pat, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here, Brad. Good night.
Yeah, if Mr. Trump, first, Donald Trump is skipping the debate for the second time. This is kind of like, going to a 90s bowl game and Jordan skips it to play golf. That would never happen. It would probably never happen in a time before the time we're at now, where the front runner skips the first two debates. Also, we probably wouldn't have 1,000 debates like we're going to have. Good call again, skipping the debate?
I don't think so. I think, again, just like the last one, this gives the 7 people that are going to be on the stage an opportunity to show what they can do. And as I said before, Nikki Haley had a true breakout night in the last debate, and she continues to gain momentum, and she's in second place in New Hampshire now. She's still down a ways, but that's how New Hampshire works. I think you can't just you can't do the Rose Garden strategy now. He needs to engage, and I think part of it is he's probably a little bit scared to engage because he will have to answer questions about these 4 pending indictments, which he doesn't want to do. Besides, when he tends to open his mouth regarding the legal proceedings, he tends to say things that are going to get himself in trouble.
Yeah, you gave Nikki Haley, former ambassador, former governor, big W in the first debate, and she has now upticked to third, kind of a clear third nationally, but most importantly, second in New Hampshire, which can change everything, as you know, politics goes. If you can nail the top 2 in New Hampshire, that's a game changer. So both former President Donald Trump and current President Biden are visiting UAW picket lines. Biden touts himself, of course, as the most pro-union president. Is it surprising to you to see both sides rallying behind the auto workers? I mean, they're both playing Mr. Middle Class, Mr. Working Man, but who really is, who policy-wise is really for the manufacturing worker, or does it not matter? And as you brought up, I mean, we're at a inflection point of class warfare here. We've got a ton of people on strike against a ton of rich people, a ton of working people versus a ton of rich people, and both of these guys are playing for the working man here. Is it going to work?
I think, yeah, probably for both of them to a limited degree. Joe Biden, actually, if you remember in the last race, won the primary based on his performance in Detroit, where he came out was the only one against the universal health care because the unions had negotiated for that, and they didn't want to give it up. So Biden probably, in that respect, has more institutional union support. But the reality is, the reason we're having these strikes is people feel like their wages are decreasing because of inflation, and that's a Biden policy. Now, you can blame that on a lot of people, because they dumped too much money into the economy during COVID. But so I think it's a win kind of for both of them. And remember, the Trump coalition is not the typical Republican coalition that he put together to win. He got a lot of working class, blue collar voters to come out and vote for him that typically vote Democratic. So I think it's probably a good move on both their behalves to be there. But, Trump's going to show up in a red tie and a big blue suit, and he's not going to exactly fit in with the working man. I think Biden's more a true working man and might actually relate better, but I did see today his staff's big concern is to make sure he doesn't trip.
Yeah, and he's of course a millionaire with a big place on oceanfront property and blah blah blah. And the UAW president said, I mean, as the middle class erodes, what's it for? Is it for so another billionaire can shoot himself up into space? That's another point to talk
Brad,
about.
To that point, and I think this is much deeper than even just the working class type of strikes. There is a real disconnect, I think, between the highly paid CEOs, huge sums of money, versus what rank and file are getting, not just in blue collar jobs, but in white collar jobs. And there needs to be a correction. Listen, I'm a conservative. I don't believe in government getting involved in business.
Correct.
But there needs to be a correction because it is contributing to this class warfare. And it's not just blue collar workers, it's white collar workers. Like, why is this guy making 400 times what everybody else is making?
Right.
Particularly in companies that aren't performing.
Right, and white-collar workers who have had very successful careers in their 20s are like, I can't afford to buy a house anywhere. That's a problem, too. So, Pat, just yesterday, House Republicans were here at an FOP event in Chicago to hear from victims of violent crimes here in the city, like Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, Ohio, Republican. I mean, was this just like a clown court or a mock hearing, or what was the point of this?
Good question. I think while it was a big waste of taxpayer money to fly all these people in here, there was nothing resolved there. There were no great policy ideas put forward that's going to help us here in the city of Chicago. Like you said, it was a clown show. It was a distraction from what's going on in D.C. And for the life of me, Jim Jordan, who's a high-ranking member of the House of Representatives, what he's doing in Chicago, we're on the verge of a government shutdown.
Yeah.
We have all these other big issues we need to deal with, and he's here. And it's not like there's any rocket science in these debates. It's all just talking points from people that don't live here. Has Jim Jordan ever come here other than to raise money? I mean, what does he know about the city of Chicago? Listen, I agree with some of it on Kim Foxx and the lack of prosecutions, but these guys I think they look kind of idiotic coming into the city of Chicago, like Chicago, and acting like they know what the problem is, because they don't.
Right. And why make an official event out of it? I mean, it just really seemed like some type of kangaroo court.
Well, you know what? It was equally as bad as the hearing that they had last week when they had Merrick Garland on. And listen, I believe in conservative policies, but that hearing was an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Complete waste of time. And I wish they'd just get serious. We as citizens, Republican or Democrat, Independent, whatever you are, we deserve better than what we're getting out of the Congress right now.
Okay, so let's get to that. We're staring down a government shutdown. Okay, so here we are again. This one party's hold the other party hostage over some issue. Now it's overspending. A small group of Republicans doing it now. But do any of them really have the temerity to do anything? Is it just posturing? But it's important, too. Like, the government, our federal government, only brings in $5 trillion a year, and it spends $7 trillion. If you and I did that, we'd be in prison somewhere in some white-collar petting zoo if we ran a corporation that did something like that. And it's important about our debt. It means, you know, what the dollar matters and what it's valued. So, you know, is this just another posturing job and then they'll open up in 2 weeks? I mean, is anyone ever going to tackle that?
Well, apparently now even the Republicans aren't, because, as you know, most of that budget's on autopilot. It goes to entitlements. And Trump, our so-called conservative leader of the primary vote right now, has taken that off the table. And this goes back decades. If we don't reform entitlements, we're never going to get a balanced budget again. And you're right. In the last 10 years, including Trump, who added more to the debt of this country than any president in the history of the United States, they're not debating it, but the reality is Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's about clicks and raising money. It has nothing to do with what's good for the country. And listen, I actually am a fan of Kevin McCarthy. I think he's doing as good a job as he can, but at some point they're going to have to reach across the aisle and get a bipartisan agreement and get this thing through. But it's just a bunch of political nonsense. And the reality is we're going to pay for it, because when the financial markets go bad, the interest rates go up, we all pay for it, and these guys go home.
Yeah. Okay, Pat. Well, you look great today. I don't know. You know, your whole makeup team really did it up this morning.
You know, I took a shower today, Brad, which I usually don't.
Really? Fantastic. Yeah. Showered, got the makeup team and the blurred background. You have really, you're going places, Pat Brady. And,
thanks, Brad.
But thanks for sticking in the swamp with us here on the stream. We appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk soon.
We'll see you, buddy.
Okay.
Take care.